Okay, welcome everyone. Hi, Hollis. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Rena Yudkowsky. Most of you know me. I'm a geriatric social worker and memory coach. If you're joining us live on Facebook, please say hi so we know you're there. And I am going to introduce Hollis first, and we'll get started. Okay. Okay. So welcome, Hollis. Hollis Citron is a art teacher, and she is the founder of I Am Creative, and she has a message she wants to give to all of us, and we're going to relate it to aging and seniors, and it's going to be really fun. I think we're going to learn a lot. I'm really excited about this, and I have some questions for her myself. So we will start, and if you're watching live and you have questions, just put them in the chat and I'll check it. And if you're watching the replay and you have a question, you can also put it in, and Hollis and I will check this and answer any questions that come up afterwards as well. So, and Hollis lives in New Jersey, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I'm in Israel, so it's amazing how we can do this. I love it. Bring us all together.
The global thing. I love it. We're all connected.
Yes. So welcome, Hollis. Tell us a little bit about what you do and your background. Like, how did you get into it?
So I have to say hi, everybody. And Rena, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. So, and I love also, I just have to apologize to everybody. If my eyes look like they're going wonky, you never know where to look for this thing. I know I'm supposed to look at the camera, but I'm glad you're straight in front of me, not next to me. So, okay. So my name is Hollis Citron. I've been an art teacher for 30 years, teaching in so many different situations, public schools, private schools, all different alternative settings, shelters, working with kids, adults, special needs, general, just everybody. And I'm just so grateful for every opportunity. And about a year and a half ago, I decided to leave the classroom because I was just like, I need to start my company. I need to get my message out there, especially to adults, because we get so stuck in adulting that we get so disconnected from what actually lights us up. And about a year and a half ago, so yeah, there's a little bit of back.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure we're showing up okay on Facebook. So that was, I put the sound down now. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So we just get so stuck in adulting and we just get caught up in life. And then we get so disconnected from what we enjoy, the simple things that we enjoy. And my big mission that it boils down to is that I want people to know that creativity goes beyond a pencil and a paintbrush. It goes beyond that traditional definition of what a quote unquote artist is. And that creativity is expression. Creativity is your voice and everybody has one. So that's my mission to share with everybody.
Yeah, and you have an amazing quote on your website. I copied and put it into a post in my group to get people excited about this. That when you do something you enjoy, it silences the inner critic and it does something good for your brain. Can you talk at all about that?
It's like, I may get the terminology wrong, so I apologize, but it's basically like the prefrontal cortex and all of this. Like, they actually have science to prove, because they've done, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you ever heard of him?
Of course. Yeah. He's huge. Yeah.
It's huge. So the whole thing with the mind and the body and our thoughts and our emotions, like, it's all connected. It's all connected. So when we have this feeling, for example, that we can't do something, it generally relates back to it relates back to an experience. So it relates back to those words that somebody said. It relates back to if you were standing in front of a group and you messed up and you saw that as being a bad thing, instead of laughing it off, you hold on to that stuff. So as your brain holds on to all of that, then it creates our thoughts, our experiences, our emotions. It's all tied together. So being in that state of flow, that they call it, is being in that state of being in the moment. So that state of like truly being in that meditative moment where, you know, the feeling, like, what does it feel like when you're doing that thing that you really enjoy?
Yeah, it feels fulfilling and fun, and you just feel happy.
All of those things.
Yeah.
I love that word, complete. So you're feeling all of that, and you're not worrying, you're not hearing you suck, you'll never be good at that, why did you do it that way? You're not hearing that because you're in the flow. You're kind of like, it's that whole thought of, I don't know if you're familiar with like Abraham Hicks, but that thought of like going upstream, the upstream thoughts of like battling something, and you're like, oh, it's so hard, it's so difficult. But when you're going downstream, you're in the flow of it, you're not fighting it.
Right. Right.
I think that's really the key thing, is you're not gripping on. A lot of times, and I find myself doing this too, it's like gripping onto something. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's nothing. I know it sounds like hippy drippy or like, but it shouldn't be that hard.
Right.
Anything that's that hard, there are things that are, yes, that are challenging. And it's kind of like, yes, I'm up for the challenge. It may not come easy, but I'm excited about it, or I'm nervous about it, but it feels like it's a good thing. So I'm up
Right.
for the challenge. Did I always public speak? No. I used to turn purple, purple. And I would turn so red, it would shut me down. And
Wow.
this was being a kid. I couldn't talk. Like, I mean, I spoke, but I removed myself from situations. It wasn't until I got into my 20s where I finally was like, you know what? All of a sudden I was teaching, and then I didn't know how that happened. All of a sudden it just started happening. And then I was like, oh, well, I like doing this, so I'm just going to have to get over it. And I still do turn red. Right now I'm not, but I still do. But it happens, and I've realized, you know what? I'm not going to die from it.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm not going to die. I acknowledge it. And I think it kind of, I say this because I think it kind of relates to anything. It's like when you're doing something you enjoy, but something doesn't present itself in the way that you want it to, you acknowledge it, you make a joke about it, and then you move on.
Right. Perfect. Perfect. So just let's talk for a second. How do people get into that flow, like that state of flow, that state of like creativity? Let's call it creativity, where they feel really like they're creating something good. Are you talking about art? Are you talking about dancing? Are you talking about anything that we enjoy? How do we get to that state of flow?
I think it's opening up that idea that it is within everything. It's a huge umbrella. So the definition of creativity is the formation of an idea or an object. So that means that we're creating all the time. So I think we need to get past that societal definition and embrace what you enjoy doing, what you as a person enjoy, whether it's solving problems, whether it's doing math, whether it's balancing your checkbook, I don't know, whether it's dance, whether it's writing, whether it's whatever, whether it's exercise, like whatever your expression is, that gets you into that state of being in that zone, in that, I'm not fighting it. I'm not having to push myself to that bad state. I'm pushing myself to a way to stretch myself, but it doesn't feel bad. So it's doing something you enjoy, and it's just the little things. And sometimes you feel like, I don't know what I enjoy, because we're so caught up in all of that other stuff. And when people ask me that, I just say, start with something. Whether that's even getting outside and taking a walk. Like, that's where I personally get a lot of my, I call them downloads. That's where, when I get all caught up in my head, and I don't know about you, I get caught up in stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to just either, there's three things that are coming to my mind right now. Go pet my cats. Like, just go pet my cats. Go with my family, my husband and my kids, and just kind of like go hang out with them and talk. Or just get outside. And even all of that, like, get outside and be with them, because it clears the head.
Oh yeah. Totally relate to what you're saying. And it's also individual for different people. Like, some people express their creativity through like baking fancy cakes or cookies. Like, that is like a nightmare for me. I don't bake. That's just, I don't express my creativity like that. But make me come up with a name for a senior services company, and like, that's where I express my creativity. Or make me do what I do with all my writing my emails and my sales pages. Even though I don't love writing, but it's a way for me to express what I do and what I love doing, besides back teaching seniors, which is what I love doing. So that's where I express my creativity, and I have good ideas, but don't put me in the kitchen and say bake a fancy cake.
Love it. Exactly. And that's that whole idea of everybody's different, and we should embrace that. It's like, we get jealous. We get like, oh, well, she or he was doing it better than me, and should I be doing that? And it's that whole word should, which is just like, we do it. It's natural. I do it too. And it's just, but when you find yourself falling into that, I literally was just shown a video recently with Bob Newhart, like back in the 70s when he had his show. And at one point his session was, stop it. Like the person kept saying, but I keep doing this. And he's like, stop it.
Right, right.
So when we get ourselves getting caught up in that comparison that, well, maybe I should be baking cakes. Like, stop it. I don't enjoy baking cakes. And that's okay.
Yeah.
His session was, stop it. You get inspired one day to be like, oh, well, I want to go into the kitchen. Maybe I don't like baking cakes, but maybe I really like making pasta. Maybe I'll make it from scratch one time. I've never done that before. And it could be an epic fail, or it could be really, or come out really good.
Right. So let's talk for a minute about seniors and aging. And we do have some people watching us. I just was checking. So if anyone wants to say hello or ask any questions, put it in the comments. So when we talk about seniors and creativity, tell me what your experience is with in helping seniors be creative. What's the best way for them to be creative? How could they optimize their creativity? How can they use hobbies? Or what do you suggest for seniors? Let's say we're talking about people over 60, 65. Let's say they retire. And then what should they do to express their creativity?
I think it all goes back literally to the same message. I honestly would say to a kid and to an adult, because I find kids getting stuck in it too. Just do what you enjoy. It just boils down to that. Do what you enjoy. Because when you're doing that, you find joy, you find passion, you find purpose, you find love. Like it really does. You feel more connected, you feel more balanced. So it's finding that thing that you enjoy and going back to the idea of, well, maybe Hollis, I'm not even sure what I enjoy anymore. So then I don't know if you're the kind that meditates, but if you are the kind that meditates, just kind of try and get out of your head and say, what was something I enjoyed doing even like 5 years ago? What's something that I enjoyed doing when I was a kid? And that first thing that comes to you is the thing that comes to you. Don't question it. Don't be like, oh, well, did I really enjoy that? Don't get into that like downward spiral. Just take that and go with it. And then be like, oh, I really liked going for walks when I was a kid. And you do that in the way that you can do that. If you have limitations now, physical limitations in any way, so then it's like, okay, then you work with what you have.
Right.
But
I like that.
It's like not questioning ourselves, just kind of get into that space and then just act on it.
And sometimes people, after they retire, they have more time to do things that they never did before. So sometimes my seniors say to me, all my life I wanted to paint, or all my life I wanted to learn a new language or learn an instrument, musical instrument. And I always say, well, now's the time. You have the time. So it'll take you a little longer to learn, but it's so good for the brain. Learning music, art, and language are all so stimulating for the brain. So however you want to, it doesn't have to be drawing or painting. It could be, I could think of 100 ideas. However you want to express yourself. And it might be something that all your life you want to do was on your bucket list, and now you have the chance to do it. And let's talk about the benefits of doing that. The benefits of either learning a new hobby or creating yourself, expressing yourself creatively, or being creative, however we want to say. What do you think are the benefits for someone who's older?
I think that you have more connection. You create connection with yourself. You create connection with others. Now is especially, I mean, all of what's going on, and I'm sorry if anybody is facing challenges, and there are challenges, but at the same time, there is so much community. The fact that I'm talking to you here in Israel, I'm in the States. I mean, I have met people from all over the world. So if you want to take that class, if you're like, there are so many opportunities now that are free, that are of low cost, that are of cost, where you can join these memberships or classes all over the world. So there's really not an excuse not to. So there's more connection that way. I think it gives you permission. And when you give permission to yourself, it just opens you up. It's just like, oh, I'm important. I'm carving out half an hour out of my day when I went to art school. So I went to art school, but I went for ceramics. So when people always say to me, I can't draw or paint, I'm like, well, neither can I. Like, I didn't go. Like, it's not my strength. But my instructor would say, go be in your space for at least a half an hour, even if you're not doing anything, because you're giving yourself the permission to be in that space. And eventually you're going to start doing something, even if you're not sure what to do, which I always I love that. I think that in anything that we're doing, we're always doing problem solving, whether it's how am I going to move this? How am I going to build this? How am I going to cook this? How am I going to write this? What am I going to do? What's it going to look like? So it's getting our brains activated and it's kind of like, if you think with your brain, it's like all those sparks are just kind of like the neural whatever. It's just kind of going off and it's getting lit up. And when that gets lit up, you get excited. Like your body starts, like, you can feel it. So it's from here. It's that like mind body connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's expansion, because you're learning what works and what doesn't work. And to not be scared of mistakes. Because we're gonna mess up.
Yeah.
It's part of the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to have that contrast. You have to have that mess up in order to know and that's, I think that goes for anything in life. We all know this. You have to have the screw ups in order to know what works.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you're saying. It's the connection you're talking about, the purpose, the meaning, the fun. All those things are really, really important at every age, but I think especially as we age, and especially as a lot of us are finding ourselves quite isolated and lonely, perhaps some of that creativity, those creative juices, as we call them, helps us feel more connected to ourselves. And I think that's a really important point. It's so important. And actually, I'm just thinking about writing and journaling, writing is another way to express yourself creatively.
Definitely.
So there's so many ways. Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's like literally, I think of like in writing, it's like a paintbrush to canvas. It's like a pencil to paper. It's like, it's a blank, which some people can find intimidating, just as blankness. So what I say to that is literally just do something. Whether you're writing blah, 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 I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've heard of the book called The Artist's Way.
I don't think so. Who's that by?
So it is, I actually have it right here. Julia Cameron. So it's called The Artist's Way. And it is kind of, I'm using it in my member group in a way to kind of make it bigger beyond just a visual artist. But it's called A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. And one of the things that it's basically about unblocking yourself. But one of the things that she talks about is morning pages. And as soon as you wake up, you just in your journal, write, draw, whatever, 3 pages of whatever kind of spews out. And I have found it to be really, really helpful. Just because sometimes it's even like, I don't know what to write. I didn't sleep very well. I'm hungry. But then other things start kind of flowing out and stuff. Even my mom's been using a lot lately, and members in the group have been using it. And they're like, I didn't expect that. Like, that was like from a side swipe of like, I had no idea that was inside. And I was thinking that somewhere back here, and just putting it on the paper was like, whew. Yeah.
Getting all your thoughts down, positive, negative, neutral, it is sort of like a relief. It is like, okay, I got that out, I can move on.
You do, because I mean, I'm not for the thought of thinking that you need to like say everything's fine, everything's good, everything's like, say what you feel and get it out, because otherwise you're suppressing it. Yeah. And if you're suppressing it, that doesn't do anything good. Right. I mean, we have to get past it. We have to figure out how to make it a better situation. But the fact that you can say is, I'm feeling lonely right now. Yeah. Okay. So how do we solve that problem? How do we problem solve that? What can I do to not feel so lonely? What makes me happy? What's something that I've done that makes me feel good? Oh, I could, just going back to baking, I could go in the kitchen and bake because that makes me feel good. And then maybe then I'll have a really good meal. If you can, maybe you could, I've even seen people doing this before where they made something for their neighbor. And they dropped it off at their step and they ended up sharing meals. So, you know, whatever your comfort level is, but it's a connection. Even though you can't be with each other, it's a sharing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what happens sometimes when I'm doing, like, I'm teaching my memory courses and I ask people to visualize certain things, because we use visualization and our imagination as a way to remember. So names, numbers, we really put it all together through imagining and visualization and pictures, mental images, and being creative in that way. And a lot of times I have older people say to me, I'm not so creative, I can't visualize anything. And I'll tell you what I usually answer, and then I want to hear what you would say. I usually just say, I think it's there. Everyone's creative. You just have to tap into it. You sort of just have to keep practicing till you get good at it. There's no such thing as not being able to visualize, right? I mean, everyone can do it. It's just they're not trained to do it because they're not used to using that technique or that part of their brain to imagine something. Is that true? Would you say that's true? And how would you answer that?
Yeah, because to tell you the truth, at times I can have a hard. Okay, so for me, I'll give a short answer and then a little bit of a longer. Okay. I think it's working too hard.
Yeah.
We put too much pressure on ourselves because we're comparing, because we're getting caught up in the now. We're getting caught up in the I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. So when you say you can't,
you can't.
You can't.
Right.
I mean, it's that simple. You can't. Right. So I tend to, my husband is an amazing visualizer. He just he does a walkthrough of our dream home. He can see the colors. He can smell it, the textures. That doesn't come easily to me. For me, what comes easily is I get ideas and I'm like, oh, I had this idea for a program. I had this idea for artwork. I see it in my head. I see the steps that I need to do it. Now I need to just go do it. I think what it's a matter of doing, what I would say if somebody says that to me, is go for a walk.
Yeah.
Go meditate. Go do something. Go pet your cat. Go call somebody that makes you feel good. You have to get out of your own way in order to access those things, because they are there. Like you're saying, they are there. But we're so blocked with the I can't that you can't. And it'll come in steps.
Yeah.
And how it shows up for you. So,
yeah. So do you work with people one-on-one? Let's say they feel blocked in some way. Do you work with them one-on-one, or you work more with groups? Tell us exactly what your programs and what you do.
I have a few different things. So I actually have a membership group where we work as a group. When people come in and, buy for like the whole year, then I do have 2 coaching sessions one-on-one within that kind of a setting. So you have both group and individual. And then I also do coaching. And then with the coaching, what I actually do and what I'm working on, to be honest, being totally transparent, is I create kits. So I create I call them experiential kits. So in the coaching program, what I do is I talk to people and I actually customize the kit especially for you based off of your interests. And they're meant to be things that are interactive, things that you can do. So I call them experiential because a lot of them are art kits, but like I collaborated with my husband where he does cooking. So we're doing things with cooking and putting all the ingredients with the directions so we can send it to people and they can make it kind of thing. So
that's cool. I like that.
And I'm collaborating with somebody else who does like hot chocolate bombs. And then I'm going to collaborate an art project that we can do kind of based off of have your favorite drink and eat something. So anyway, saying all of that, those are 2 ways that I do work with people.
And just wait, your membership program, so what does that include?
So basically each month is a different theme. So right now we're actually doing journaling and the artist way. And also this other great book I'm going to show you here that I have. It's called Living Artfully.
Nice.
It is by Sandra. I can't pronounce her last name. I'm not going to try right now. But it's really, really, it's just so fun. I mean, when you open it up, let me show you a page. Like look at the way she does.
Wow.
Like it's just very colorful. It's very happy. And in here, it's like giving really nice tips about how to live your life. For example, she gave an example of having a party at a restaurant, and instead of everybody just sitting next to each other, they put a box of 25 questions in each box in front of each person. So then each person had to pull out a question, and then each person who wanted to answer answered. So it became interactive.
That's great.
And it's just kind of like, instead of people going, how was your day?
Right.
How's the family? It's actually getting at a deeper level.
Yeah.
So basically, like those are my themes actually for January and February, is journaling and making our way through these books. And then whatever else kind of comes up from the group. I've also done things with a theme of cooking and offering recipes and having time to actually meet and cook together.
Right.
I've done stuff with gardening.
Are you doing everything on Zoom now, I assume? Yeah.
Yeah. It's all within the actual trip site, and then all through Zoom, and then establishing creative times, which has been really fun. So once a week, it's varied. It depends on how people can do it. It's at least once a month where we have a creative time where people bring to the space whatever they want to do, and we can talk and work together. So
that's fun.
That connection.
That's really fun. Okay, so tell us, I'm gonna look at the comments in a second, but tell us how people can reach you if they want to find you or get in touch with you. What's the best way to find you?
Great, thank you. So my website is I am Creative Philly, which is PHILLY.net, and that really is my hub for everything, because you can see what it's about. The membership is in there, my individual coaching, my podcast, all of that. And I'm also always looking for guests too, just to say also. Yeah, and on my podcast, it's for everybody. And it totally supports my mission of that creativity comes in all different forms. And all of the conversations revolve around 3 questions. How do you define creativity? How do you incorporate it into your life? And why do you think it's important? And then
I didn't hear the third one. What's the third one?
Why do you think it's important?
Mm.
And then I've spoken to biologist, physics teacher, actress, lawyer, doctor, spiritual healers. And yeah, it's just been really fun. So that's always a possibility too. So.
Wow. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick look and see if there are comments. Let's see. So Susan says, I was going to mention that book, the one that you mentioned, that I was going to mention. She talks about journaling. She wrote it was fantastic. It's a very stream of consciousness. 1 second. I just want to.
I'm glad she's using it.
Sorry, I just want to renew it, and I just have to refresh it and see if there are any more comments. Susan said, it's very stream of consciousness. Okay, I'm not sure which comment she was talking about, but that's fine. Question. Hi, Hollis. Can you talk about how the creative process can heal the brain? Okay, that was the first question. I'm sorry. Just talk about how the creative process can heal the brain. We didn't talk so much about that. Do you want to talk about that?
I think that basically the creative process heals yourself because it's about expression. So in doing that, it heals your thoughts in your brain, because it's kind of like when you say brain, it's like, really what, I mean, you imagine just this thing in your head, and you kind of like see the pictures that are shown, but there's so many different compartments of the brain, and we compartmentalize experiences and thoughts and emotions. Like there's so much that goes on inside the brain. And actually, I was looking at, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I want to read this thing that he said, which I thought was so cool. So we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are thinking the same thoughts. So with those same thoughts, they lead to the same behaviors, which are then experiences, which are then emotions. So it's all about how you think, act, and feel, which then creates your personality, which is your personal reality. So I think in order to be able to heal those experiences, to heal those negative emotions that often get stored, there's positive emotions, but the negative emotions stop us from doing what we really want to do. The negative emotions are what we hold on to that are saying, I can't. Yeah. So I think what the steps are to take is to just do. And when the mistakes happen, because they will happen, is you're like, okay, either however you laugh it off, You say, okay, well, that didn't work, move on. And then keep trying and keep doing. Like that's just, there's this great book called Beautiful Oops. It's a kid's book, but I love using it for adults because it's about how to embrace the mistake. Well, I didn't expect to do that. So, but so many times when we didn't expect to do that, it turns into the coolest thing that we've ever done because our brain wasn't overthinking it. So I hope that answered.
Yes. Yeah. And okay, I'm going to relate this for a minute to memory. I talk about this all the time, our self-talk and memory. So my seniors will say, I'm so bad at names, or I'm getting really old, I can't remember that. Really? If you say that to yourself, you are not very likely to remember the name of the next person you meet. But if you say to yourself, I got this, I have a technique, take a deep breath, it'll come to me, what I'm trying to remember will come to me. That's a totally different self-talk. You are setting yourself up for success when you say, take a deep breath, I'll recall this in a minute, or take a deep breath and use the technique that Rena taught me, because that's what they do. When I empower people to believe in themselves and have confidence that they can remember, same thing with art, right? It's the same thing. So it's just that self-talk, and we can accomplish so much more than we give ourselves credit for. And we do that through self-talk. So it's really relevant to so many different areas of our life.
Yeah, it's really, it's everything. And I think that what you're teaching is obviously so important. But our self-talk, how we perceive ourselves, is everything.
Yeah.
We're with ourselves 24/7.
Right.
You don't get away from yourself. Sometimes you want to get away from yourself. But when you want to get away from yourself, that's where you're getting into that negative slide. You're getting into that negative thought. You're getting into that negative pattern where you're not going to let anything else in. And you know what? Other people aren't going to want to be around you either. Like, it's kind of the way that goes. So it is so much about changing the way you think. Get away from yourself. Sometimes you want to get away from yourself. It's like react, respond. Are you going to react to something, or are you going to respond to it? And sometimes that responding is taking a breath before you actually
say anything.
That because you know that when you react, it's oftentimes not always in the best of terms.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, I'm thinking, let's see, I want to say one more word about creativity. And you mentioned this. I think that being creative in whatever way you enjoy can really stimulate the brain, challenge the brain. And whether it's a new hobby or learning a new technique or new art, and when I say art, I don't mean just drawing, I mean any type of art, or any way to express yourself. I think that really does open up our brain and stimulate it and grow new brain cells. It happens to be, like I said, for arts, language, and music are all arts, right? And ways that we can express ourselves. I'm just thinking of people that play piano for years and years and years, and there's all these videos and stories of even people with dementia that they can't tell even what today's day or date is. They can sit down at the piano and play songs, and it's just so amazing, so amazing, because that is stored in a different part of the brain apparently than other memories.
It's internalized. It's kind of like it's within.
Yeah.
And it's making me think of, and I think it will be relevant as I'm saying this, but like in the beginning of the pandemic, a fellow art teacher shared something on her Facebook page where a second grade teacher wrote to all of the what's the word right now? I can't think right now. My memory.
Karen?
But basically all of the teachers teaching yoga, music, art, teaching all of those kind of classes. She said, you know what? I apologize. She said, because all of this time I have taken advantage of you. I've used the time thinking that you're not so important. You're just a free period, that when I drop my kids off at your class, that it's just the time to be like, oh, okay, I don't have them for 45 minutes now. I can get caught up on my lesson planning and everything. She said, but you guys are actually the most important teachers in the whole school.
Wow.
Just because in this time, we've learned that what have all of us turned to in times of fear? We turn to music. We turn to expression. We turn to things that we enjoy doing. We turn to physical movement. We turn to yoga. Whatever that looks like for you. We turn to things that make us happy in order to get us to the next step. And I just thought that was incredibly powerful.
That's really cool. Really nice. Yeah. And of course, we can never underestimate, use the word fun a few times today, and we can never underestimate the value of fun. Sometimes we think, I don't know how you grew up, but I grew up sometimes like fun is wasting time, but I don't feel that way now. I feel the opposite, right? It's like, we need that. We need fun in our lives. We need to connect with other people. We need to connect with ourselves. We need fun. We need to laugh, especially in these days. We need to laugh.
It just feels good. Yeah. I mean, it just all boils down to that.
Yeah.
It's like, doesn't smiling feel better than not making a movement on your face or around you? Or that feeling of walking around in fear where your body is literally tense
up.
And then when you're having fun, when you're like talking with someone you enjoy being around, when you're doing something that makes you feel good, your body is looser. And you're just like you can breathe.
Yeah.
That's usually when I'm going to get yelled at because I stacked everything wrong. I will admit my husband probably just opened up the closet and things fell out. Sometimes stacking isn't always.
That's funny. So so the fun piece, and then okay, I think we talked about a lot of different things today. And it makes me want to spend more time being creative. If you're encouraging me to go find something fun and creative to do.
Well, I love that you said that you really like where your zone, it's like your zone of genius. You really enjoy building your program.
I do.
You really enjoy, you find that you can be really expressive that way. You should own your strengths, but then I also challenge you, and I do it for myself too, challenge myself to go for those things that don't make me feel so comfortable. And what are those I call it like a C-type goal. It's like, what are those things that are really out there, something that I really wanted to do and I haven't taken the time to do? So if it's learning that instrument, like you said earlier, or learning how to paint, or wanting to learn how to exercise more and move my body.
Yeah.
Then reach out. I mean, right now, like you said earlier, it's like a wealth of information. We're all connected through this.
Yeah. It's really easy to find. Now it's become so much easier to find people in all the different fields you just mentioned online. You can go online, you can reach out to all the people in our networks. In a lot of ways, even though we're isolated more, in a lot of ways our networks have opened up, because of all the different Zoom meetings and networks and lectures and workshops that a lot of us have been participating in. Our networks have actually grown bigger, which is really cool, because I don't think if you would have asked any of us a year ago if we would have thought that would be an effect of this pandemic, or a positive effect. But for a lot of us that, especially if we're trying to grow businesses or in different businesses, we're meeting a lot of people in different fields, and we can connect them with the people that need their services. So that's the cool and fun thing about this.
There's one thing.
Go ahead.
Something real quick, and then I'll. I think it's important to have an accountability partner.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to be able to connect with either somebody in your family or somebody that supports you and isn't going to beat you down and be like, you can't do that. So a friend, somebody to be able to say, yes, I did that. I have an accountability group that I talk to every morning at 9 o'clock, where we say, what are we doing for today? What are for our business? What are we doing for today? And then also for accountability for having fun.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to be able to, because it's connection, and it makes it be put on the list instead of, I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah. Love that. That's great. Yeah. Accountability partners are a big part of accomplishing any goal, really. Because we need people to help us. We always need that support.
Yep.
That's great. I'm going to say one word about a program that I'm launching, just so for whoever's listening. And then I'm going to check the comments one more time to see if anyone wrote anything. I'm actually just about to launch my 2-part masterclass on names. People always say, how can I remember people's names? And this is a super fun, creative workshop that I do because we use our imagination a lot to remember people's names and faces. And it's a 2-part masterclass. I'm going to start in 2 weeks. It's called You Name It. You Name It. So I'll put the link below. Anyone that wants to look into that page some more. If you want to learn how to remember people's names, this is your opportunity. Super fun, interactive. It's just 2 classes, a total of 3 hours, and I love teaching it because it's like this really gets people creative.
I love it.
Yeah.
My husband, he calls everybody Steve, so that would be perfect. So that would be perfect for him.
Yeah, and it's really good for people of all ages. Like, you don't have to be any specific age to do this. People of all ages complain to me that they can't remember people's names. Mm-hmm. So I taught this once before online, and I'm going to teach it again now. I actually, it's part of my full course, but I pulled out the best part. I'm teaching it as a master class. So thank you, Hollis, for this opportunity to get to know you. And maybe we'll put your email or your website in the comments below so people could reach out to you. I actually put it in one of the posts in the group earlier, but we'll do it again. And I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. And let me just take a quick look in the Facebook and see if anyone else wrote anything that we want to answer. 1 second. Oopsie. Well, every time I do that, the sound turns on. Okay, no, I don't think there's any other comments, but there are people watching us. So yay, thank you everyone for watching us. And I wish you a good day or a good night, depending on where in the world you are. And put your comments or questions below, and we'll pop back in under the replay, and we'll answer anything.
Thank you everybody for watching. Appreciate your time. I know time is precious. So
thank you so much, Hollis.
Thank you, Rena. Appreciate it. Bye everybody.